This is the fourth video of doing examples where we're factoring trinomials, where the leading coefficient is bigger than 1. So the leading coefficient being this 5 right here is a number that's bigger than 1. And so we are going to do another example. In this case, we have this is a negative and this is a negative. So we have the middle term is a negative number or a negative term, and the last constant is a negative term. So be sure to go take a look at those other videos. I'll put a link to that playlist in the description. There's also a fun math song that you can view, and if that helps you memorize it. Sometimes I find music will help me memorize certain things, so if that's you, by all means check that out. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take our first term, 5x squared, and we're going to multiply that by our last term. So let me put that right here. So that'll be 5x squared, and we want to multiply that times negative 4. And when I multiply those, that's going to give me a positive times a negative is a negative, so that's going to give me negative 20x squared. And there's a reason why I'm pulling that x squared with it. It's very important. It kind of reminds you of certain things as you're working through these problems. Okay, and then as always, we're going to take this middle term here. Notice how I am circling that negative with that 19x, so it's not just a 19x, it's a negative 19x, and I'm going to put that down there. Okay, so now I want to see if I can find two numbers that will multiply. So they need to multiply to give me this negative 20, and at the same time add to give me this negative 19. Okay, so let's write out some factors of 20 off to the side here. So 20. So what times what will give me 20? Well, let's start with 1. So 1 times 20 will give me 20. 2 times 10 will give me 20. 3 times, doesn't look like 3 goes into 20, so I'm going to cross that one out. Okay, let's try 4. 4 times 5 will give me 20. And 5 times 4 will give me 20. And I can actually stop right there because these two are actually the same. So I'm just going to cross that one out. So I really have 3 cases here, here, and here that I needed to focus on. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. So the question is, which combination of these numbers will add to give me negative 19, but also multiply to give me negative 20? Well, unfortunately, these are all positive, so it looks like one or more of our terms are going to have to be negative. So let's kind of think through this. If I were to have a negative 20 and a positive 1, if I multiply negative 20 times positive 1, that gives me a negative 20. And if I add negative 20 and 1, that's going to give me a negative 19. So it looks like we found those numbers. Okay, now the only other thing that I want you to do is make sure you draw and you write an X right here with each of those. Okay, so negative 20x and 1x are going to go there. And then now let's go back to our box. I'm going to put the first term, 5x squared, top left, and then my last term, negative 4, bottom right. And then these numbers that I found here, they are going to go in the remaining 2 boxes. So I'm just going to put negative 20x here, and if you watched the previous videos, you would know that it doesn't matter what order you place those two in. It doesn't matter, it will still work out. And so then what I want to do is I want to factor out the GCF starting with this row right here, and I'm going to put that number here. So what is the biggest number that will go into 5 and negative 20? Well, 5 will go into 5, and 5 goes into negative 20. So I'm going to place a 5 right here. And then let's think, what is the GCF of x squared and x? Well, remember the rule for finding the GCF of variables is always look at the lowest exponent for those. And in this case, we have an x squared here, and we have an x to the first. So the lowest exponent is going to be x to the first. So I'm just going to write an x there. And what's nice is that you can now just kind of work backwards here and figure out what these values are by thinking what times 5x will give me 5x squared. And so that's actually going to be a 1x. And then what times 5x will give me a negative 20x? That's actually going to be a negative 4, because negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. And then you just make sure you bring that x there with it, because there's an x here. And then lastly down here, you want to ask yourself, what times 1x will give me 1x? Well, that's going to be 1. And then I always like to check, is this times this equal to this? And it is. So my factors are going to be right here. Okay, and take note of your signs here. So because there is no sign here, this is a plus. Okay, so we're going to write that out to the side here. So my factors are 5x plus 1. And instead of writing a 1 in front of the x, I'm just going to write x minus 4. And that's how you factor. All right, so if you, again, like I said before, if you haven't checked out those other videos, I've got a playlist and I'll link that in the description. If this helped you, please consider liking the video, leaving a comment, or subscribing, or sharing it with somebody you might think will find it helpful. And I will see you in the next video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.